On this episode of Auto Collabs, we're live at the Washington, D.C. Auto Show for Public Policy Day 2026, brought to you by our friends at Safe Ride. We're here with Alex Kwanten, managing editor U.S. News Autos.
That's great.
Okay,
Amazing.
So you just gave out a bunch of awards for the most affordable, like the best value cars of the year. But we also found out that you have a little bit of a history on the retail side that isn't just reporting on things, but you're like in the shuffle with the dealers and at the NADA show and with automotive news.
Yeah, for a long time I was a freelancer for automotive news, and I contributed to Fixed Ops Journal. A lot of service directors and fixed ops directors in my past, and hey, fixed ops people, love you.
We see you.
Yeah, that's right.
Look, fixed ops is a big heart of both. I mean, he started in fixed ops, and I'm always like, fixed ops just doesn't get the attention that it needs. You know?
They're like under the radar, but very, very important to everybody's bottom line. So they deserve shout outs. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk. We've been talking a lot about affordability, and you just handed out a bunch of awards, and two things go together.
Yes. So our awards are the Best Cars for the Money Awards. We do these awards every year, and they are a focus on affordability, but it's not just affordability up front. It's also like over time.
Cost of ownership.
It's basically we cross-reference our basic review score, which is just, our opinion of the car, with total cost of ownership data and ATP data from the last year. So, like, how much does it really sell for? Because the ATP may not reflect the MSRP.
Right.
And how much does it cost over time? Like, is it going to nickel and dime you to death? Whatever. So really, to get one of these awards, it has to be a good car, it has to be affordable up front, and it has to be affordable over time.
What are the most significant factors impacting vehicle cost of ownership, like over time right now, with transitions to EV or the changes in the vehicle technology? Where are people spending the most money, and how are manufacturers addressing the problem of long-term cost of ownership?
Sure. So over time, it's usually service, insurance, and fuel. Those are the big three, right? So insurance cost is factored into total cost of ownership. So if a car costs a lot to insure, it's not going to be one of these winners. However, over time, like it depends on how much technology goes into the car. I used to think like, I like Audi 5000s, right? But an Audi 5000 is a car you don't want to have if you don't want to spend any money, right? Sorry, Audi. This is an old car. Don't feel bad. The more technology there is on a car, usually the more things there are to break, although it depends on the quality of the vehicle, the assembly quality over time. We have a pretty good track record of tracking reliability and ownership experience with the cars. So if something really has a pretty rotten reliability record or the maintenance cost is really high, we'll notice that in data from our own data and also data from our partners. So we get some data from Vincentric, and we also have partners at JD Power and other places. So,
okay, so tell us who came out on top this year.
Yeah, so we expanded the categories this year. So last year we had 13, but people are shopping for different things, and there's a lot more hybrids and plug-in hybrids now. So I think I looked back at like 2017, 2018, and there were maybe like 8 or 9 hybrid SUVs total. And that included like things that weren't really SUVs, like the Pacifica hybrid.
Right. Yeah.
And now there's like,
you didn't have anywhere to put it.
Now there's like 24 or more hybrid SUVs. And growing every year. So like this year, like one of the winners is the Kia Niro. Sorry, not the Kia Rio. Yeah. Kia Niro, which is the best subcompact hybrid SUV for the money. Now, we didn't ever do a subcompact one before because there weren't enough cars, right? We won't award an award if there's only 2 cars. So people might be like, where's the Ford Maverick? Well, there's only 2 cars in that class. Right. It's the Maverick and the Santa Cruz. People are shopping, they're going to find both of them, whatever works for them. But if it's many cars that people are choosing from, we want to be able to give them a recommendation. Anyway, there's 3 subcompact hybrids now with the Crosstrek hybrid coming online. There was a Crosstrek plug-in hybrid that kind of didn't really do that well. And now there's a new Crosstrek hybrid, and it's great. In fact, all 3 of those little hybrid SUVs are pretty good. So the winner is the Niro, 50 miles per gallon, out the door under $30K, Like,
Wow.
it looks good. You know, it's not
Great
exciting. It's great tech inside.
Yeah.
Even the base model has good tech. Like, usually when we get press vehicles, we get the loaded top of the line, that whatever the manufacturer wants to show us. But we also source cars other ways. So we drove a base model Niro just to be sure. After having I've driven the Niro 4 or 5 times now. So Niro EV, plug-in hybrid, regular hybrid, and we wanted to be sure, is this base model that costs under $30K out the door really worth it? And it is. Actually, 50 miles per gallon. It's comfy. It's stylish. It's got great tech, even with the little 8-inch screen,
Yes.
you know.
Cheap to insure, I guess.
Very
Yeah,
cheap
I'm
to
sure.
insure, very cheap to fuel, and it's roomy. You know, like you can fit, like I can fit in the back seat with the front seat adjusted for me, and I'm 6'4".
Yeah, you're,
So,
you're a little taller
yeah,
than
that's
us.
a
and we
totally
thought we were-
different-
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
like I can tell if the back seat's good, I'll know. Right?
You're the guy.
So yeah, like, you know, you have to make. There's so many of them now that we decided people who are shopping for like what's the best value overall. Well, it might be that cheap one, right? It's really hard to beat that Niro for just money for value. But you know, not everybody's life can fit in a Kia Niro. Right.
Sure.
Right.
So you want to have, you know, your mid-size SUVs, your full-size SUVs. You know, we broke it down by hybrid versus non-hybrid. And one reason we chose to expand the hybrids is so many people are shopping for a hybrid because they think, well, every time I go to the gas station, I'm spending X amount of money. I'm taking out a 6 or 7 year loan on this car, which means I'm going to have it for a while.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, over the course of 3 or 4 years, if you keep your car and you get a hybrid versus a non-hybrid, most of the time you're going to make up that difference in the end. And your monthly expenses are going to be lower just because the gas bills are lower.
Yep.
Same is true with an EV. You don't have any gas bill, but that sort of depends on where you live, right?
Yeah, where you live
Sure.
and where you're charging too.
Right. If you charge at home, I live in Seattle, right? So if you charge at home, almost all the electricity comes from hydro. So it's very cheap, it's very clean. And most of the time in Seattle, it's not like DC. I'm from New York originally. So when I moved to the West Coast, I had this naive idea that like Seattle and Portland were like as far away as New York and Philly. They're not.
Yeah.
Turns out they're not. So if you're in Seattle, you know, the nearest cities are Vancouver, BC, Portland, or Spokane, which is
then-
like 6.5 hours,
And then
right?
a really long drive
It's a
anywhere
hot
else.
minute.
So
yes.
if you're going to drive anywhere else, it's going to be serious business, and most people won't do it. So you're going to fly, right? So in Puget Sound, like there's lots of EVs, and I see people with these 100-mile range EVs, and it works for them.
driving around
Because that's
town.
all it
That's
is.
right.
Yep.
Yeah. And so if your life fits it, you can really save money that way. But you know, it sort of depends on what you're looking to do. But that is the ultimate low cost, is you charge it at home with cheap electricity. So
All right. So the Niro obviously was one you're calling out. What was the next surprise? What was another surprise that you were like, wow, we weren't expecting that to
you know,
happen?
not to harp on electrics, but the Chevy Equinox EV. So I've driven that car a couple times now. I won't say it's the most exciting vehicle. It's less exciting to drive than it is to look at. However, it's not a bad car to drive. It's really roomy. It comes with a lot of great tech inside, even in the base model. Single motors, not slow. You know,
Yeah.
Right.
and you know that car beat out like the Kia EV6 and the
Really?
Hyundai Ioniq 5. And, yeah, because
did
of
it- why did it beat
low
them
cost of ownership,
Low
low,
cost of
ATV.
overall.
You know, and even without the credits, it still has a low cost. It's a low bar to entry. Now, if you load it up,
It can go.
it can
Yeah.
go
It can get
pretty
expensive.
high. But like if you just are willing to buy one of the lower end models, it's not that bad, and you don't really get punished for buying the lower end model. It's pretty good package overall.
Yeah.
All right, let me ask you this. I'm assuming you probably know this answer, even though it probably doesn't have to factor in the list this year specifically. What is the most surprising car expense-wise to insure? One that's much more expensive to insure than most people might think.
Teslas. Yeah, Teslas have really high insurance costs, and I will say that most premium EVs have pretty high insurance costs. I mean, of course, you're buying a premium car, so you're going to expect that you're probably going to end up paying more. But sometimes I look at those insurance costs and I'm like, wow.
Like what does it look like for like a normal Model Y?
It sort of depends on the.
Sure.
I can't give you an exact
Of
figure.
course.
It depends. We also have a whole car insurance vertical that someone else runs.
Oh, okay. So you're like, that's the, yeah.
But
They know
like,
that answer.
Yeah, usnews.com, by the way. But yeah, I mean, it is going to be several $1,000s a year. Like it's definitely like
Yeah, it's
considerably
what's a
more than
Niro?
good. It's only, I mean, I think it depends on your driving
Sure,
record,
of
obviously,
course.
but you're only going to be paying a few $100 a year. Actually, I can get
Whoa.
I can get you the figures
A few hundred
later on.
hundreds
but, yeah.
versus
Wow,
thousands.
that's a total different
Well, I mean,
proposition. Well, you think
yeah.
about all the technology that's in those vehicles. If that vehicle has to get repaired, where are the parts coming from? Where are
fast
the
it can
wiring?
go and
how fast it
accelerate.
can go.
It's gonna
Yeah.
accelerate.
I mean, that's another thing with EVs is that, when I drive like an M3 or something, like there's only so many places you can go to exploit an M3
Right.
without getting arrested.
Right.
So, like, when you think about like a Lucid Air or a Model S,
Yeah.
like,
You're 0 to 80
I mean,
and like
both of those cars can pass absolutely everything, including a gas station. But like, are they? How safe are they really? And does the average driver have the capacity for that? So.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Alex, thanks for giving us a little insight into
course.
the insights that U.S. News
Sure.
provided. And kudos on another cool year. And
Thanks.
sharing with us that, hey, even the more affordable vehicles are something you should look at.
They don't have to be bad. They don't have to be a penalty box. There's a lot of good cars out there, and you can find all of them at cars.usnews.com. So, yeah, and our winners are on display there. So,
beautiful.
Awesome.
all right. Thanks
Alex.
guys.